Welcome. Hey there. We're excited that you are here for another 1 hour of power. That's right. Welcome today. We get to talk about a fun story about a guy named Joshua and a city called Jericho. That's right, where the walls came a-tumbling down. Well, we are going to start off with a song that's all about trusting God. And speaking of that city, Jericho, it was made of really thick walls, and it was so fortified. And we're going to talk about how God is our rock, that even those thick walls weren't enough to totally protect Jericho from God's power. But God is a strong rock that we can count on. It's called I Will Call Upon the Lord. And there are a few actions, so repeat after me.
After me.
The Lord liveth.
The Lord liveth.
And blessed be the rock.
And blessed be the rock.
And may the God of our salvation be exalted.
And may the God of our salvation be exalted.
That's right. And then you do it again.
And then you do it again.
The first part is an echo, so you will just repeat after me.
After me.
Today's show. And next up we have our Bible trivia question, so get your thinking caps on.
All right, we got a good one for you once again today. It might be a little tricky, but I believe that you can do it just fine. So, before the Israelites reached Jericho, God parted another body of water for them to cross through. What was that body of water? Was it A, the Sea of Galilee, B, the Nile River, C, the Dead Sea, or D, the Jordan River? Let's see if you can get it right. Type in your answers. Woohoo!
And now it's time for story time with me, Grandpa Gordy.
Grandpa Gordy?
That's right. I'm a-coming. Got another great story for you. We got a story about one of my favorite characters from the Bible today. His name is Joshua. Now, you might recognize that name from yesterday's story about the 12 spies. That's right. Joshua was one of the faithful spies that believed that God could deliver them into the new promised land of Canaan. Well, after a while of wandering in the desert, Moses died and Joshua became the leader. And here we go. We're going to get into this story right away about a guy named Joshua and the walls of Jericho. Okay, I'll get into it. Here we go. After Moses died, God gave his people a new leader. His name was Joshua. That's like what I said already, which means the Lord saves. Joshua was going to lead God's people into the special land God had promised to give them. By this time, God's people had been wandering around in that baking hot desert for 40 years. So you can imagine how sick they were of any sand and anything yellow and tense and walking and being hot. And how happy they were to reach the edge of the desert and see their beautiful new home right there in front of them. All cool and green, one problem. And it was a big problem. Jericho. Jericho was a city, but it wasn't just any old city. It was a fortress. And it stopped anyone from getting into the land. The people looked at Jericho, at the big, giant, scary walls around it, at the tall, towering ramparts, at the heavy iron gates bolted shut, at each other. But what would they do? No one knew. But God knew, and God told Joshua what to do. But Joshua must have looked surprised, because it was a very odd battle plan indeed, as we'll soon find out. Then God made his people a promise. I will always be with you, and I will never, ever leave you. If you do what I say, your lives in the new land will be happy and everything will go well. So Joshua gathered his army together. They had their swords and spears and shields. They were ready to fight. But the plan wasn't about fighting. It was about trusting and doing what God said. Joshua's army went marching around the city, day after day. The people in Jericho said, they're too scared to fight. But they were wrong. God's people weren't scared. They were waiting for God to tell them what to do next. On the seventh day, God told his people to march around the city not once, but 7 times. Then God told everyone to make as much noise as they could. Has anyone ever told you to make as much noise as you possibly can? Well, imagine that noise. Add 39,999 other people making that noise too, and you get the idea. It was ear splitting. And as it turned out, stone splitting too. Because the huge, strong walls of Jericho just crumbled to the ground as if they were made of sand. Jericho vanished in a great cloud of dust. And so it was that God's people entered their new home, and they didn't have to fight to get in. They only had to walk. Joshua said, God has brought you safely here. Now will you do what he says? And everyone said, we promise. Only God can make your heart happy, Joshua said. So don't pray to pretend gods. No, they said, never. I'm afraid they didn't keep their promise. They didn't do what God said, and many years later, just as God warned them, things would go badly for God's people. They would lose their home. Enemies would capture them and take them off as slaves, and God's people would scatter into many different lands. But God's plan was still working. One day he would give his people another leader and another home. But this home, no one could take away from them. Remember, this story comes out of the Jesus Storybook Bible. It's one of my favorite Bibles that tells the stories of God's people and how God was working in the world. But I just want to say thanks for joining me for another story time with Grandpa Gordy. Until next time, have a good day. Go get some prune juice or something.
And in case you missed it, here's the story of Joshua and the Battle of Jericho in 1 minute. So God's people were wandering through the desert and came to the promised land. But as they saw it, they noticed one big thing standing in their way, the city of Jericho, surrounded by a thick wall. Well, they were ready to attack it, and God told them, no, wait, you should just walk around it. one time every day. And so that's what they did. They marched around the city day after day. They marched and marched and marched, and nothing happened. But the people believed God and did what he said. Then on the seventh day, they told them to march around the city 7 times. 1, 2, 3. The people of Jericho thought they were just crazy.
Getting close.
But then, on the end of that time, of the 7th time, they shouted and blew their trumpets. Ah! And the walls came tumbling down. And God's people entered the promised land.
Yay.
Ha! The end.
Fun fact, did you know that the wall of Jericho was about 12 feet high and 6 feet wide? What? That's a big wall that just come tumbling down.
Speaking of walls, this has nothing to do with that, but we're on for another shake with some more break. I don't know who breaks things like this, but we're gonna do it. Okay, so this shake break game is called Find It Fast, all right? So each one of us 3 is gonna have a color, all right? Think of a color, have 3 options in case your color gets picked. All right, so we're gonna think of a color. We are going to, when I say go, or whenever that person who picked the color says go, we're gonna find something in the room and of that color and bring it back. And the first one back here wins the round, okay? You guys at home can do it with your family, and you can see which one of you guys gets back, or see if you beat us, see if you can beat us back. And if you do, put it in the comment section. Or whoever wins in your family, you can put in the comment section, okay? So we're gonna do 3 rounds of it. All right, so I'll go first. Oh, and one trick, guys, it cannot be in the camera view. Like,
Oh, we need to get markers. Okay, all right.
markers or the balls from Evan's hat. All right, so my color is going to be my favorite color, the color black. Okay, go.
Go boy! My thing fell when I went to grab it, so I got
My hair and my shirt are black. All right, you guys can put in the comment section who you think won each time if it was a close tie.
Me.
All right, Bree, your turn.
So it has to be the entire color, or like mostly that color, or just
It has to be majority of the color. So you would say for my shirt, bluish.
I kind of get a head start. Ooh, extra tricky. Something tie-dye. Go. Ha! I had it in my mind. Find it. It's in the piles. You gotta dig for it. Something tie-dye.
For those of you who don't know, we have a whole pile of clothes in the back.
It's true. This is our
I
problem.
just failed. I just considered it a fail.
That's a mixture of colors. That's technically kind of tie-dye.
Very good.
Okay,
All right, Dan, your turn.
find something yellow.
Wow, impressive.
Start.
I could have just warned myself.
No, that's neon green.
This is not.
Yeah, that's
Ninja star.
I got Kendall Fletcher.
Hey, thanks.
Ah.
All right,
Ah.
we're gonna bring up my friend and your friend and her friend and her friend and his friend, Evan Nielsen.
Yay, Evan!
Hey guys, who in the Bible didn't have any parents?
Adam.
Who else in the Bible didn't have any parents? It was Joshua, son of Nun. Because his dad's name was Nun, N-U-N. It was...
Son of none.
All right. Today is the game of the day is we're going on a bear hunt. So you are going to either have somebody hide stuffed animals outside, you can do it inside, whatever works, and then you're gonna go on a bear hunt and try and find all of the animals. You can dress up like you're going on a safari to make it extra adventurous. And if you're super young, you can have your parents do like a hotter or a colder type thing to find the animals.
We're going on a bear hunt.
We're going on a bear
That's a fun song to do as well. So anyway, today is Friday. It's the end of the week. And at 1 Hour Power, that means it's Family Fun Challenge Friday. And for this weekend, we have a challenge for you and your family to, because of the story of Jericho, to walk around your block 7 times. All right, that's your challenge. You don't have to do it all at once. You can do it over the course of a couple days if you want, or throughout the day. Do a morning walk and an evening walk. But when you walk around the block, instead of yelling at your neighbors' houses, just pray as a family. And you can even pray out loud and pray for your neighbors as you walk around. And if you run out of neighbors the first time around the block, you could pray for people like your teachers. You could pray for people in your community like firefighters and hospital workers and grocery store workers. You could pray for your extended family like grandpas and grandmas and aunts and uncles and cousins. You can think of a lot of people and things to pray for while you're walking around the block. And it's okay to take turns and pray out loud while you're walking. So there's your challenge, to go on a prayer walk around your block 7 times if you can. And if you have a weird block and it's just really long and you can't actually go around it, you can walk up and down the street or find a nice big long trail and do one big loop around. That's totally fine to adapt it like that. There's your Family Fun Challenge for the day. We're going to close with a really fun and really crazy song. So I'm going to grab my guitar and we're going to sing this song called I Am Free. It's one that we like to do at camp, and it probably, of all of our songs at camp, is the craziest in the chapel when we're singing the song, because everyone is literally out of their seats, running around the chapel in almost complete chaos. It's amazing. So, it has some action, so repeat after me.
After me.
I am free to run.
I am free to run.
I am free to dance.
I am free to dance.
I am free to live for you.
I am free to live for you.
I am free.
I am free.
But when we get to the I am free to run, you can just run around your couch or wherever you are in your house when you're watching this. Or if you're watching it outside, just run around. That's right.
Run around.
It starts out through you the blind. Here we go. Through you the blind will... Oh yeah, I forgot one more thing. I know I started singing. But we go through this song, and there are a lot of actions that you can make up as we go along the song. So we go, through you the blind will see, through you the mute will sing, through you the dead will rise, through you all hearts will praise, through you the darkness flees, through you my heart screams, I am free. You can make up actions as we go along to this song. So anyway, there we go. Here we go. Through you the blind will see, through you the mute will sing, through you the dead will rise, through you all hearts will praise, through you the darkness flees, through you my heart screams, I am free. Alright, here we go. I am free. Son sets free is free indeed. All right, bring it back now. Who the Son sets free is free indeed. Now, nice and loud. Here we go. Who the Son sets free is free indeed. I am free to run. I am free to dance. I am free to live for you. I am free to live for you. I am free. I am free. I am free. Yeah! All right. Now, when you have a chance to get outside, you can run around and get all that energy out. It's great. And you can remember that God is the one that has set us free, just like He set free the people of Israel from the Egyptians and helped them to conquer the land that He gave them. Now, speaking of that, do you want to know the answer to the Bible trivia question of the day?
You bet.
What? So God helped the Israelites cross the Red Sea with Pharaoh's army, but before they entered Jericho, they had to cross another body of water. And God did the same thing again. He stopped the waters of the Jordan River. That's right, He did it again. They walked right through on dry ground, and then the waters started flowing again. Isn't that crazy? God is amazing. And after all that, the people believed that He would lead them into the land. So we too can believe that God is going to take care of us and provide for us, especially when we listen to Him and follow His ways of doing life. Well, let's close in a word of prayer. Repeat after me.
After me.
Dear God,
Dear God,
thank You for protecting us
thank You for protecting us
and teaching us how to live.
and teaching us how to live.
Help us follow Your ways
Help us follow Your
and
ways
trust in You always.
and trust in You always.
We love You.
We love
We
You.
praise You.
We praise You.
In Jesus' name.
In
Jesus'
Amen.
Amen.
All right, it's the weekend, and we want you to take part in your church's worship service. So whatever they're doing, maybe it's a radio broadcast or a TV broadcast or Facebook or YouTube, or maybe you have a drive-in worship going on. Whatever it is, take time and be a part of your local church's worship service. It's important to gather together and remind yourself of that community. But that's all we have today for 1 hour of power. Bye. Thanks for joining us.